Hello and welcome to Gloves Off with David Singer, the #1 rated show on the community newspaper channel. #1, that's right, baby. We're #1. Today I have with me my co-padre, Ed Silva, who I always invite once a month on the show to talk about all things Palmetto Bay. So we're going to be doing it today. I got to read the disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed here are those of the host and the guest, and not necessarily those of the community newspaper, because usually when a community newspaper has an opinion, it's usually wrong. So that's why they make me read the disclaimer.
Rare form
today. Rare form. It's been a long couple of weeks. Anyway, sorry I missed last week. Hope everybody had a super spring break. Would like to welcome Ed Silva to the show. Good morning or good afternoon.
Good afternoon, David. I, as you know, I was trying to get out of being on the show because I really am swamped with work. But I didn't want me not being on the show to be misconstrued that I was, cowering to some BS that's been put out lately by some people on the council. Some of the stuff that's been put out there because of spite, because they want to try to silence our voices. We're America. We're entitled to have our voices. We're entitled to have our opinions. I welcome any and all investigations. At the end of the day, I think people are going to be rather surprised as to how low some on the council will go, only to stifle.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because I know people are probably tuned in to hear what our take is on what they're trying to do with the land purchase that was done.
I can't talk about that.
You can't talk. I can't talk about it because of the potential litigation that I'm going to have against the village attorney, John Della Gloria, and each one of the council members, which I expect to be filed relatively shortly. I know you can't talk about it.
And we'll leave it at that.
And we're going to have to leave it at that until the litigation's filed. I will put out an offer for anybody on the council to come on the show for a half an hour to 45 minutes to discuss the land purchase, okay, and tell me that it was done illegally or there's 40,000 square feet missing, on the record on the show live, because none of what they've said is true. But that's all I can talk about.
Move on for now, please.
Move on. Okay, so let's talk about some of the stuff that's been going on in Palmetto Bay. My sense is that the corruption in Palmetto Bay, whether it's perceived or actual, has probably hit a tipping point right now. And I think that when the residents find out exactly what's going on there, there's going to be a huge hollering for people to be removed from office. But in saying that, let's talk about the law firm that was hired after it donated money to the vice mayor, Leanne Tellum's campaign, which is against the charter, which I actually happen to have. Do you want to talk about that? Go ahead. While I look for...
Well, I'll take it a step further, because what people don't realize is there's certain people on that in Village Hall that are also trying to become the mouthpiece watchdogs for someone, the council, to do some of these things. One of them is a charter officer, exactly, and he actually put out a little threatening email that I got a copy of. I can tell you that I spoke to ethics, and ethics' opinion of what happened was exactly the same one that you're going to be opining right now. The only issue is that our charter really basically says that the persons or the parties responsible to enforce that section are either the village manager or the village clerk. And as you know, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So let me read this. This is out of section 10/12 of actually, I'm sorry, the Muni Code. And it states, a person who directly or through member of the person's immediate family or through a political action committee or through any person makes a contribution to a candidate for the office of village mayor, vice mayor, council person shall be disqualified for a person of 1 year following the election from transacting business with the village. So that's straight out of the Muni Code. And it says a vendor is a person who transacts business with a village or has been approved by the village council to transact business with the village, or is a list of village managers approved vendor list. And then it goes through and contributions. And I would assume that you would agree with me that a cash is a payment of, not cash, but a check. A donation is basically a contribution. So we have an instance where the vice mayor, right? You want to.
Now, the bottom line is sometimes perception is worse than actually anything else. And the perception that's being put out here is not a good one. I don't even understand why we don't have our own village attorney doing this work. He did it once before with the stop sign, where he played mediator on the stop sign round rotunda that was supposed to go in 87th and 174th. He's getting paid a salary. That's his job. He should be doing it. Why are we going to an outside firm for something that has clearly been demonstrated that he can do in the past? And he can clearly do it right now. That's beyond me. It's just wasteful spending of our taxpayer money.
So this attorney that they were hired, in my opinion, number one is, I'm sure the law firm's a fine law firm, but it smells of pay to play in my book. You make contributions, you get to be a vendor of the Village of Palmetto Bay. It's against a charter or ordinances of the village. What is this law firm going to be doing?
They're trying to mediate between the Transportation Planning Organization and the Village of Palmetto Bay the ruling on putting in the bridge on 87th Avenue between 163 and 164. I really clearly think that there's nothing here to mediate. I don't believe that they're going to be able to stop. Well, in fact, I know they're not going to be able to stop this. And at the end of the day, all they're doing is just, like I said, wasting taxpayer money at tilting at windmills.
Yeah, I have the same feeling. I had the same feeling with Palmer Trinity. The village is known to tax and spend, and that's basically what they're basically the best at right now.
Well, it's always easy to spend somebody else's
money. Yeah, especially when you don't have any of your own. I just, one of an interesting conversation, and I don't know if you were involved in it or not, but before we hired the village attorney, I sat down with him at Starbucks and I said, I'm all good with voting for you for village attorney. I just need to make sure that you're not going to get involved in the politics in Palmetto Bay. You're not going to sit there and play the political game, because you're there to advise the council, okay, what's right and wrong, and basically represent the Village of Palmetto Bay residents. Because you don't want your village attorney, you don't want a city attorney, you don't want anybody to play politics. And unfortunately, what's occurred, in my opinion, is since Karen has her 5-0, that the village attorney is heavily engrossed in playing politics right now. And that goes through the fact that the donation that was given to Leanne Tellem, his response to that donation, that goes through what they had to say about the land purchase. And that goes through some of the other comments that he's made as recently as Monday night, as far as did you watch Monday night's meeting?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. As far as an employee getting a huge pay raise in Palmetto Bay, which we can discuss too, if you'd like. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it away from him. So we have an employee in Palmetto Bay. This individual is great. No names, no titles or anything. I happen to really like this individual, but they were voted from $80,000 to $120,000, a 50% raise. And during the discussion, it was brought out that this individual had not gotten raises in the past 5 years that this individual worked there, which everybody opined to. Is that actually a true story? This individual get the 2% raise every year?
Well, a couple of things, and this is wow.
It's called gloves off.
Wow. All right. First and foremost, no, I believe the contract called for an automatic 2% increase every single year issue if that employee was not evaluated by the council.
I'll read that to you. Should the council fail to annually evaluate the clerk's performance within 2 months of the annual anniversary of this agreement, it shall interpret it to mean that the council is satisfied with the performance. Immediately thereafter, the clerk, shall be given a salary increase equal to 2%. 2%.
That's correct.
Okay, and that employee did get the increases.
And the evaluation, since it's a charter officer, is by the council and nobody else. So even when they sat there on Monday night and said basically that it's a travesty that has gone this long without having an evaluation done, they were actually pointing at themselves, weren't they?
Yes,
because it's
and you can point at me because I was on the council, so I was somebody who probably missed giving the evaluation. But the evaluation is not handled by another charter officer.
No.
The evaluation would be handled by the mayor, the vice mayor, and those group of people. And
well, I'll take it a step further. The mayor actually put through a resolution ordinance a couple of years prior to that, setting up the ground rules for those reviews and for all that information to be put out there, which was there was a substantial amount of debate between her and Marcia Matson as to what the rules of the road would be in terms of the evaluation of charter officers. So it's not as if they forgot about it. They had a major, robust discussion on it and how it was going to be done and what should be done and how the process should be done. And they've just fell asleep on it. But that's typical in Palmetto Bay. When they want to do a political point, they'll bring something up. And then once that political point's made, they turn the page and try to hope that everybody forgets about it.
Well, let's follow up with that. When I heard that the village manager, I think it was, said that it was a breach of contract, when in fact it wasn't a breach of contract. Yeah. If you read the if you read the evaluation or the form, because it was either you give an evaluation or you give an automatic 2% increase if you're happy with this individual's work.
I believe, I'm pretty sure, I am 100% positive that that's the way the contracts are written. Because the way mine was written, mine and hers were pretty much in sync with each other.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything that they were spewing, once again, is misdirection and misinformation to the residents. But I think you'd agree with me, that's what we've all grown to know and love about our present council.
Yeah, but aren't the selfies great?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about something else.
Hold on, wait. Let's switch because I'm not going to let you lead this time. Let's talk about tax increases.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Okay, sure you were.
I think we need to give a little bit of history about the FP&L franchise fee. First and foremost, that was set up by Miami-Dade County in 1990. It was a 30-year tax on the residents of Miami-Dade County that by charter in Miami-Dade County, the only way that it could be extended would be through a vote of the residents. So the county let it expire instead of putting that out to a vote. So anybody that lives in unincorporated Dade County, they don't pay FP&L franchise fees. That's number one lie that Mayor Cunningham said Monday night, where she said that everybody pays a 6% fee. That is factually incorrect. And nobody in the county lives in the unincorporated county pays it. Secondly, it was never a 6% net. It was historically a lot less than that. And when the council brought up the FP&L franchise fee, as you well know, they voted to make sure that it would terminate in 2022 so that we would align with Miami-Dade County, and our tax rate, although our millage rate's slightly higher, but everything else would fall into place with what the county's doing.
Yeah, Patrick brought that forward to have it.
Patrick's the one that, kudos to Councilman Fiore. He's the one that brought it up. Lo and behold, here's what happens. And now, last Monday, we now have Mayor Cunningham and Councilwoman Matson flip-flopping and all of a sudden embracing a new tax on residents. And it's not a one-year tax, but but it's an extension of a 6% tax increase on every one of us for 28 years. Let that sink in. It's 28 years that we have to pay for it. It doesn't only affect your FP&L franchise fee. It affects everything you do in Palmetto Bay, because if you think that any business in the village is not going to pass that along as part of their overhead and charge you for it, I got a bridge that's not going to be built in Palmetto Bay for you, because you know damn well that every single business will be passing this along in terms of their overall costs onto everybody that does any services in the village. And it's not pennies a day like a certain
council
member that doesn't even know how to add up his own checkbook does. It's a hell of a lot more than that. It's actually close to $2 million a year that they're grabbing out of our pocketbooks. And $2 million is about 40% of what we collect in property taxes every single year. It is a substantial increase. I got questions, because what are they going to do with those $2 million? I mean, the spin that they played was that they need this to cover a deficit. But in that same meeting, the new manager basically said that our expenditures are running 15% below what was projected, and our revenues are running 15% higher than projected. If you do the math, what was supposed to be a $1.7 million deficit is looking more and more like a $1.5 million surplus. So the whole illusion of having to do an increase in the FP&L franchise fee because of the deficit is false. They themselves admitted to it on the record that they don't have a deficit this year, that it's going to be wiped out because of kudos to the staff, and because the revenues came in substantially higher than they wanted. I don't know if you remember, I used to have that argument all the time with then Vice Mayor Dubois about crafting hero budgets. This is the classic hero budget. They made a doomsday budget that has turned out to be completely erroneous. And I just think that's wrong. It really puts into question anything and everything that they do. I don't see why they're doing this. I don't see why they're putting a tax on everybody at the tail end of a pandemic. I don't see where there is a demonstrative need for this. And then top this all off by the fact that the federal government is bailing out Palmetto Bay to $10.4 million, of which $1.8 million, as they stated on Monday, can be used to be put back into the surplus. Why do we need the money? What are they doing with this?
You know, as you've learned, and I've learned since being in office, and even before I left office, the misrepresentation from some of the council members is glaring. If you go and you do a little research, it's really a reason that some of these people should not be in office anymore, and something needs to be done about it.
Well, and I'm still looking for that. They based how much this would be pennies on the dollar tax increase, pennies a day type deal. But they based that on the FP&L formula of a 1,000 square foot home. I'm still looking for that house in Palmetto Bay, because I certainly don't know of any 1,000 square foot homes in Palmetto Bay. So I mean, it's all disingenuous. It's all spin.
My FP&L bill is typically somewhere around $500 to $550 a month. What does that increase that by? You're talking about 6%.
Well, no, yeah, but you're going from where it's supposed to be this time next year at 0 to 6%.
Mm-hmm.
So 6% of $550. I mean, you're the accountant.
I know. I didn't know if it was on the whole bill or it was on a portion of the bill.
It's on the majority of that bill, and and it's very unique. The reason why FPNL uses a 1,000 square foot home size is because for the first 1,000 kilowatts, you pay at a lower rate than anything above and beyond that number.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
They have a sliding scale. So the more you use, the more you pay, and that's why they try to always keep that number so artificially low. You're talking about $400 a year.
Yeah. So it's interesting because you also heard, if you read in the Miami Herald, that FPNL is going for an increase.
Up to 18%.
Up to 18%.
Yeah.
So say they get 10%. Okay. Say they get 10%. So now you have 6% and 10%, 16% increase in your electric bill. So my $500 bill is now $75 more. That's about right?
Yeah. And so, now you're paying another additional 6% on that. So
yeah. I mean, it's so, they seem to talk, the mayor and her cronies seem to talk out of both sides of their mouth. First they say we don't need the money, then they say we do need the money, then they say they're taking away the tax, and they say they're putting in the tax. I mean, you can't get any really straight information out of the village these days. You sure can't get it off the website. I mean, I got to tell you something. I was doing some work today, and I printed a Muni code, and this Muni code doesn't seem like this was updated since Gene Flynn was mayor and John Dubois was vice mayor, because it still has them as mayor and vice mayor. Now that might be a website, but that to me proves that there's some real issues in transparency and telling the truth and not misleading. Is that a real issue of transparency, or is that a deliberate attempt at trying to hide some things? It could go either way. You could flip the quarter, right?
Yep, I believe you can.
Anyway, so I will be happy to take questions. If you guys want to send me some questions, talking to Ed Silva. What else do we want to talk about? The bridge. I mean, we got it was basically a unanimous vote that the bridge gets built, and now we have the village trying to Oh, we can invite him in.
Nah, it's okay.
We have the village trying to.
Let's leave him out there for now.
We have the village trying to sue to stop it. Dexter Leighton just walked by me. Hey, Dexter, how you doing? The former village attorney.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I hope you had a good vacation, Dexter.
Look, I just think that there's a big issue of a lack of vision. There's a big issue of honesty and transparency in our village. There's a big issue of actually of being honest in what they need and what they don't need to run this village. As you well know, they've been adding some stuff to the village lately. Look, I'll give you an example. Our attorney fees have gone from my last year there, which was $150,000, to I am pretty sure that's good. By the end of this year, they'll be probably triple that amount. There's a fact that because of litigation, they couldn't refinance their outstanding debt, which cost them another $200,000 a year.
I thought it was $200,000 to $300,000.
It's $200,000. It was $200,000.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're not going to be able to do it now because interest rates are, as you know,
and they still have litigation.
And they still have litigation.
And there's always going to. It's just with this present group we have, there's always going to be litigation because they think that's the way out.
No, it's easier to have somebody else make the decisions for you. But I think that the reason why people run in the first place is that they need to make decisions, and they need to clearly state their vision. And there isn't one. I mean, I'll give you another. We have had these conversations, and I'm getting tired of them. But Karen Cunningham came out with a strategic plan 3 years ago, where she has done nothing with it. She just had a visioning session 4 months ago, and nothing's moved forward with it. It's all just ceremonial event
garbage.
Event.
And I don't mean that to dismiss the people that are getting the proclamations and stuff, because all these people are probably very nice people, very good people and stuff like that. But you can't have a village run by proclamations. right?
No, you need to make the
You
decisions,
need
and
to
you
make
need to make
decisions.
sure
So,
that
so
you're
when you
looking
sit
about the
there,
forward.
so when you sit there and you extend proclamations to an hour out of every meeting, but then you take freedom of speech away from residents, where you used to be able to talk for 3 minutes, but now through Mayor Karen Cunningham, you can only talk for 1 minute on the dais. Okay, which by the way was probably done, from what I understand, illegally. Okay, because that's in the charter or the code of ordinances somewhere. She just doesn't seem to care about, and what's worse is the village attorney does not correct her. So I don't know if it was a unilateral decision on her part. I don't know if the council voted on it. I think it was neither. You know,
I think she's also getting bad advice, to be honest with you. I think she's getting bad advice, bad legal advice. I mean, I think if you look at state law says that you have to give every resident the right. And, you know, by the way, now that we're talking about this, it's going to go back to 3 minutes. You know that, right?
oh, I know it's going to go back to 3 minutes, and it's good. So I'm glad I
So-
brought it up.
So,
But
I
that's
mean,
cool.
but
I get, at
but
least something will be done.
state law state law clearly says you have the right to address your leaders. You have a right to address your council. And historically, in my understanding, is that 3 minutes has been opined as long enough for you to be able to do so. 1 minute is not.
3 minute. Wait. 3 minutes has been the number since the.
Well,
the council-
our charter says
Yeah.
you have a maximum of 3 minutes. It never says
Yeah.
that you
But
it
it's still
doesn't.
3 minutes.
It's kind of silent
Okay,
as
but
to
it's still
3
3
minutes.
minutes has been on record as being the amount of time a resident has had the opportunity to talk, except for maybe 2 or 3 times, like Palmer Trinity or something. They had to move it down a little because of the amount of people.
And
Since
some
the village was incorporated.
and some legal scholars that are in our building right now have opined that they pretty much know that litigation has said that 3 minutes is the correct amount of time.
So what she's done, okay, and this is the mayor. This is nobody else. What the mayor has done is sit there and said, okay, well, we used to give out proclamations for 15 or 20 minutes, okay, every meeting. Now we're going to do it for an hour meeting, okay, so I can give out as many proclamations as humanly possible, making them really worth something, right? If I gave you a proclamation and I gave somebody else a proclamation and somebody else a proclamation and I gave out 25 proclamations, what would that proclamation be worth? I mean, think about it. Okay, she sits there and she enlarges existing time for proclamations, but sits there and takes away any resident who wants to sit there and talk about something. Okay, something that's on the agenda, you know, a resolution or ordinance or something else, takes it down to 1/3 of the time. Okay, that's a serious issue in Palmetto Bay, and the residents shouldn't stand for it. And apparently, she doesn't give a she doesn't care about. You notice how I caught myself. She doesn't care about anybody else's opinions.
Didn't she do the same thing during the bridge when she didn't get her way, and she basically took her football home? So now we're not going to play on that field, and walked away from a community committee, and basically
she doesn't care about anybody else.
Basically, hurt the residents' input into a process. Yeah, it's done often. It's minimizing the residents' input into what our council should be. I mean, I don't have a problem. Look, and I've said this and I'll say it again. I don't have a problem with the tax increase if it's used for the right things. But a $2 million grab of money, which is the FP&L, without anything other than to continue the status
should have been
quo.
voted on, by the way. If it's that much money, it should have been voted on by the residents.
Without any real purpose other than the status quo is horrible. Now, if you told me you're taking those $2 million and you're trying to do it to buy a piece of land that's on the bay that we're in litigation with right now, you know, with a former FP&L plant, and you're trying to take that money,
I think that would be great.
That to buy that and turn that into a park or a private marina for our residents.
Yeah.
Hey, that's vision. That's something for our residents that we can opine upon and find out if we really want to do that. And I'd be the first one to say, absolutely, let's do it.
How about buying a piece of property to try
for
to
a,
get
for a community
charter school
for a community center. Look, how sad
how sad is it, right?
How sad is it that we can't even get going with the community center? And here's Cutler Bay that's proposing a central park with a brand new village hall, a brand new community center, and an open green space And guess what? It's being done off of Oak Colored Roads so that that land isn't built on adding to the traffic congestion of every single day commuters. That's kudos to Cutler Bay.
Oh
They
no, they have some
kudos.
vision, right?
They got
That's
vision.
but
They're
that's a group of people that absolutely have a vision, okay, and know eventually or know now and eventually what is best for their village.
and I'm seeing.
Oh, by the way, I want to say hi to people, so you can say anything you want. Okay, George Gonzalez, hi, how you doing? I should have solar actually.
We all should.
Gene, hey, how you doing? Kelly, how you doing? Lisa, how you doing? Okay.
Well, okay, and Kelly is right because the FP&L franchise fee is not just one tax. Property taxes are going to be going up on average 5% next year. So whatever you paid in property taxes for the village, add another 5% to it because that's also coming your way. Look at the price of everything else that's going up right now.
And by the way, they have a fiduciary responsibility on the council to protect residents' money. They do. They are sitting on the council. They have a fiduciary responsibility, and I can tell you, I don't even think they understand what the word fiduciary means.
Well, and I see Tony saying how it's sad. Yeah, it is very, very sad, and I think the fact that we don't have a community center is really tragic in our community. It's really something we should have. It's the community hub. It's the place where everybody should get together and intermingle with your neighbors and your residents so that you can do it. And we're just not doing it. We're just absolutely not doing anything. It's ironic that the village about a couple weeks ago put out that we were like one of the top neighborhoods for families. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
And yet, it's funny. That same organization came out with something that said we're not even in the top 50 in terms of safety. But you don't see that being promoted, do you? And when you look at how good of a neighborhood we have for families, what are they doing to improve that? Are they building a community center? No. Have they built and replaced the building that got knocked down at Coral Reef Park? No. Have they tried to protect our environment by buying the 22 acres off of Old Cutler Road? No. Have they done anything whatsoever with Veterans Park? No. In fact, they said that they're at that. In fact, the manager said that's at least 3 years away. 2 to 3 years away. And I got news for you.
This is like 8 years growing, isn't it?
And I got news for you. They already have ownership for half that land. Yeah. They could at least start something now, but they're not. And I invite anybody to go to our dog park or where our Veterans Park is and just look at the conditions of the park. They're dust bowls. For the love of God, we've got a group that's working on neighborhood protections, trying to come up with standards. We can't even live up to the standards as a village. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Frustrated.
You go for it.
I'm just frustrated.
No, I understand. I'm sure that
I'm tired of the spin, and I'd like to see a little bit more focus on the issues that we have and how we can correct them.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is, anybody who knows anything about what's really occurring in the village of Palmetto Bay, I mean, they actually have some inside information as far as what's occurring. It is just disgusted.
I want to answer something that Jerry Johnson just wrote there. Should I? Yeah, yes. That's not going to get me into trouble. Mr. Johnson, the village had an opportunity to buy those 3 acres from that developer. That contract was written that we had a right of first refusal to match that purchase. And the clock ran out on this council from doing so. So if you want to point or cast blame, look at this council for not taking the opportunity that the contract offered them in trying to buy that land.
This present council?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. That was one of the clauses that was in the contract.
So let's talk about the 10-foot sidewalk.
But that means they'd have to read it.
Well, we all know that they have at least 2 or 3 of them have a hard time reading. Let's talk about the 10-foot sidewalk that's rearing its ugly head again. And Gene was nice enough to send a little notice on. I guess they're going to start it at one of the schools. Howard Drive.
I believe that's where it's going to start. Yeah. Well, that's what
Yeah.
he said. Yeah.
That's what he said. And then I would assume that even though the residents on 136th Street, the large majority do not want the 10-foot sidewalk under any circumstance, because there still are signs out there that says stop the sidewalk. They're still getting a 10-foot sidewalk. The plans to go forward.
That's apparently the case. Yes.
You have any other information on that?
No, I believe
This is
that
close off, man. If you can't tell, if you
I
can't speak
believe.
the truth.
Well, you know, look, my issue really isn't even that sidewalk per se, because that ship sailed and that's already been that contract's been awarded and it's going to start. My bigger issue is the fact that they're wanting to put a 10-foot sidewalk in many numerous other residential areas in our community, and I'm not so sure that that is something that should be done so quietly. I think there should be
if there
public
should be
input.
town halls after town halls after town halls, because they have town halls when it comes time to put an apartment up, right? And putting a 10-foot sidewalk in front of somebody's house is probably as important as putting an apartment next door to a house. It's more concrete.
And I believe that that's something that should happen, and we should have that conversation. We should have that conversation so that people understand where we're looking at trying to put these sidewalks, these mega, I'll use your word, your mega sidewalks, and have that real honest conversation with the village, but they won't do that.
No, they'll do it secretively.
Look, we started an art piece. We started installing an art piece.
I mean, the COVID-19 piece.
I understand that that's.
It looks like a COVID ball. I'm sorry. I mean, I've seen it. I mean, I'm sure the artist is a great artist, but if you look at the art piece, it looks like a COVID ball.
We started an art piece, and we didn't ask permit. We didn't pull the permit from the county to do so. I mean, we have really lost control of what we're doing as a village. I just don't understand how it is that we do stuff and not put the ducks in a row. I know that there's a street that's been installed that doesn't have the right of way, that wasn't approved by the county to do so. And these are things that are happening on a continuous basis. If our government can't live by our rules and laws, how do you expect anybody else to look up to us and say we should be doing the same thing? It's nearly
come on, seriously.
impossible.
We have that issue with I'm gonna get in trouble with Pig Floyd's and Thalata Park. The rules at Thalata Park are significantly different than the rules at Pig Floyd's right now, or what they're expected the rules to be at Pig Floyd.
Well, here's a private business. Here's a private business that had to jump through all kinds of hurdles for what government breaks on a regular basis.
On a regular basis, you can ask the former vice mayor, John Dubois, if they break it on a regular basis, and he'd be the first one to say yes.
Well, of course. You want to talk about selective enforcement? They put up no parking signs strictly in front of this private business. They put up no parking signs in that swale.
Swale across the street.
Yeah. Now turn the corner down 72nd Avenue in front of Deering and tell me what you see there. Tell me how many cars you see parked perpendicular into that street, which is supposed to be a bicycle boulevard, which means if the car's backing up, he has to be very careful because he might just hit a bicyclist.
Are they giving tickets for that?
Really?
So,
look at the cars that are parked on 77th Avenue any Saturday morning that are blocking the sidewalk and people are crossing that street. And kudos to Councilwoman Matson because she did bring it up. I will give her kudos. She did bring it up and said she wants to see that put under control. But these are things that if they just had a little bit of vision, they would have realized it was going to happen.
No, they need more than vision. They need the ability to manage the village, which they don't have any of. They're supposed to be the executive board, okay? They're supposed to be the ones that tell the CEO and tell the CFO what to do and how to get it done. And it's a complete failure for the last 2 years, okay, on the part of Mayor Cunningham. Complete, utter failure.
And I'm going back to Mr. Johnson. Yeah, complete streets would be a great thing for us to have in our community. Complete streets, which means that we have a place for the pedestrian, the bicyclists, and the cars on equal footing. It would be awesome. So, but a multi-purpose multi-purpose path doesn't quite give you that.
So let me ask you a question. What do you say to the people who say, "Oh, the Mayor Caringham, she's so nice." You know, when you sit there and we bring all this out, you know, we sometimes it makes us look like the bad guys, which I have no problem with in when I sprout the truth. But you'll run into somebody and they'll go, "Oh, that Mayor Cunningham, she seems so nice." I mean, what do you say? I mean, I think there are people that are in jail. I hate to say this, that are nice too, but it doesn't mean that they're doing the right thing or they did the right thing. I mean, what's your take on that? Because you hear it all the time. I see it all the time on Facebook. Oh, she's so nice. Does being nice mean you can't do things wrong?
No, of course not. I mean, you can be nice, but you're in over your head, and really what you're doing is hurting the village, and that's where I think we are. You can be nice, but you make a mistake and don't show up for a meeting to represent your residents against the bridge, and instead you show up for a private workout at a park, and you've just let down your constituency. And as a mayor, she could have very easily had delegated that, because that's also in the charter, to anybody else to have gone, and she didn't do it. You can be nice, but in private threaten a sitting county commissioner, and that's not so nice, is it?
No, and that's actually happened.
And that I'm
well,
just,
from what we've been told. So I mean, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Jimmy Carter when he was president, right? Everybody said, "Oh, he's such a nice guy," you know, but it doesn't mean that he was an effective and efficient leader, right? I mean, you know, he's a great guy. I mean, all the charity work and everything else he did, but his term as presidency will you know, is not going to be in history. Is just a footnote from the trouble that we were in when he was president.
I believe that you need to have, as a leader, a vision and clearly be able to define where you want to go and what you want to do. And you just can't be worried about self-promoting yourself and making sure that you never make a controversial decision. That's the problem.
Well, you can't ride a fence. You can't be
Can't
an
ride a
effective.
fence.
You can't be an effective leader if you're always riding the fence.
Yeah.
And you're always backtracking.
Yep.
I mean, she's done enough flip-flopping to join a circus. I mean, it's just, you know, it's actually the truth. I mean, she's just, you know, she is who she is. I mean,
and I want to say this, because and you know, and I know that you kind of invite me out here often, and it's going to get more and
once
more
a month.
And it's going to get more and more difficult, because I'm really am swamped with work. But I do want to say this. Look, we live in a great community. We do.
Oh, I love our community.
This isn't a slam on our community. This isn't a slam on who we are, or it's not even sour grapes, because I'm just opining, because I know what we can be as a village. I know that we can live up to being a family-oriented community. And I'll give you the epitome. I think, you know, are there issues with that restaurateur that they've been trying to harass lately? Yeah, there is. But those are things that could be worked out, and that's a great family spot. I've been there. I seen the kids playing there. I seen that being a very nice,
it's
family-oriented locations.
It's one of the best businesses, okay, to bring people together in Palmetto Bay's ever had. I mean, for them to sit there and try to slam them instead of working with them is criminal, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you know, I'm not trying to do a Tommy here saying the Marlins are going to be great and they're 1-5 this year.
Hey, Tommy. By the way, Tommy's our producer, if you guys don't know.
That on a walk-off hit by pitch.
Jeez.
You know,
we live in a great environment. We live in a place where we should be protecting our 22-acre forest. We live in a place where now that you've got your FP&L franchise fee, we should be using it to try to protect the bay and trying to see if we can reach some sort of agreement instead of trying to sue them.
We need to protect those 22 acres.
To buy LuxCom.
Protect those 22 acres.
There's many things that we should be trying to do as a village that we simply are failing at. And now we're going to get a boondoggle from the federal government. And my biggest fear is that do you hear any conversations as to what they want to do with it? Do you hear any requests or surveys? You know, it's funny because Marsha Manson ran saying, I'm going to do scientific surveys and I'm going to make sure that they're done correctly. There hasn't been a scientific survey done since she's been there, and there won't be one because they're all slanted. But I'm not even going to, that's a subject for another day. But do you see M asking what are the requirements that we need as a village? And this is where we can use this money to resolve it. There's no conversation. It's let's see who we can blame, and let's see who we can blame, and let's see who we can attack, and let's see who we can make the boogeyman so that we can deflect all this from us.
It's all misdirection. And you know, it's like playing DC politics, you know, in Palmetto Bay, which is disgusting enough as it is, but it's all misdirection right now by the council to sit there and take their responsibilities, their exposure off them and say, okay, you guys, this is where, you know, it's like a little magic trick with them. This is where the ball is, but we're going to take the ball away from here and we're going to hide it behind our backs. And it's this guy's fault. It's this guy's fault. And even though the guy hasn't been around for 2 years or 3 years, it's still his fault because they will accept no responsibility for their own actions. None, zero, zilch, nada.
And by the way, in my humble opinion, that's the number one requirement of a very good leader. You accept responsibility for.
Oh, good. That's
exactly why you cannot have visitors inside here.
That's a great way
that's
almost a great way to end the show.
Well, but I want to put my point out there.
Okay.
The number one, in my opinion, one of the number one traits of a good leader is to make sure that you accept responsibility for everything that's done under your watch. And we have a council that's doing the complete opposite. They're trying to do everything they can to blame others but themselves. And I think that's what's inherently wrong with our village.
No, they take no responsibility. Yep. None.
Anyway, I want to thank everybody for hearing me out once again. David, I know that you want me on here. I'm going to try, but
yeah, I know you'll be here. So
okay.
let me read a couple. Let me read a couple of. I was going to read a couple comments, but I can't find any I can read. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Kelly, yeah, I can't read any of these right now. I'd love to. Oh, well, I'm so sad. Sorry, guys. Anyway, thanks for everybody tuning in. I'd like to give my chicken shit award out, but I forgot to bring it today. Cool. And I think I was going to actually just give it out to the council for their tax and spend attitude with no real vision and no insight into where the money's really going, because, you know, that's the way it is. Anyway, next week I will have somebody here from the Children's Museum, which is a great facility if you want to bring your children there when they reopen after COVID. Good night. God bless. And everybody stay healthy.